It's the mid-90s.
Please hold.
There's a new president in the White House.
It was a very, very positive time, and he seemed to embody it.
The economic boom is in full swing.
Optimism, creativity, possibility.
And the internet is taking hold of our lives.
All these amazing, radical changes are underway.
Life is good.
I just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Our whole job was just trying to make each other laugh.
But on the horizon, storm clouds are gathering, ready to blow America apart.
We had no idea what was on the way.
It was absolutely frightening.
In the 90s, music still had the power to shock and annoy.
There is absolutely no reason for a record like this to be published by a responsible corporation.
Tupac wanted to rock the establishment from its foundation.
He's a brilliant artist. He was a brilliant artist. He still is, even when he's not with us.
I would never think that the West Coast beef, East Coast beef ever would get to a stage where, you know, people wanted to kill each other.
The short life and mysterious death of Tupac Shakur is the archetypal 90s story. Celebrity, violence, and even conspiracy. That all comes together on the night of September 7th, 1996. Boxing sensation Mike Tyson is about to fight. Among the celebrity attendees is the Prince of Rap, Tupac Shakur. When the opening bell rings, Tyson goes on the attack.
It's dramatic, it's edgy, and then it's over. 60 seconds, boom. That's how great Tyson was.
It was so quick, everybody was like, damn, it's over already.
Then the fighting spills out of the ring. Violence is a vital component of Tupac Shakur's work. But kids love to love music that their parents hate.
It was a little like, what the heck are you singing? Are you kidding me?
White kids in suburbia, USA, are like huge Tupac fans and want to wear the bandana and get tattooed. That's like their worst fucking nightmare.
We were rolling down the 405, just listening to Tupac, and we thought that we were badasses.
Rappers say it's not the music causing the violence. It's the violence that's causing the music.
Listen, there's violence in the Star-Spangled Banner, you know, so, you know, there's always going to be talk about guns and bursting and blasting and this and that, just because that's just the nature of the fabric of America.
But authenticity can go too far, and Tupac gets caught between two sides of a real gang war.
The West Coast said, forget you, we're the future, you're the past. And it became...
Once they were friends. Now, East Coast rapper Biggie Smalls becomes Tupac's biggest enemy.
All these suckers, they battling over East and West like this is a game. This ain't no game. If this was chess, we'd be yelling checkmate 3 years ago, because we've been beat these.
And some believe it's Biggie's crew who are out to get Tupac after the Tyson fight. After leaving the arena, the rival gangs disperse.
We were gonna perform, do a show, big party, everybody was gonna be there.
The atmosphere in the Club 62 was very funky. It just seemed like there were a lot of, you know, questionable characters in there.
Tupac is en route to the club. What happens next is still shrouded in mystery.
We're caravanning. It's maybe 20 cars. I had a feeling something bad was gonna happen. Everything seemed like they're moving in slow motion. I wanted to get a look at the faces of the people, of the hand I was holding the gun. I just remember saying, damn, I wish I could see his face.
In the hospital, Tupac fights for his life.
Me and the Outlaws, and we all took shifts. And, you know, the Outlaws, I think they had weapons in their car because the whole time we were there, we were fearful that they're going to come finish him off.
After 6 days, Tupac Shakur dies from multiple gunshot injuries. Tupac's gang, the Outlaws, claim they smoked his ashes.
Pac told us mystery sells, so I'll let people wonder.
And the biggest mystery is, who's behind the murder of Tupac Shakur?
Tupac did shoot 2 off-duty police officers down in Atlanta, so law enforcement around the country weren't big Tupac fans.
The police say their investigation stalled not for lack of effort, but because witnesses refused to cooperate. Tupac's unique persona lives on, fueling conspiracy theories that his murder was a hoax.
What the f is that, Coachella?
But America was about to find out just how deadly a real conspiracy could be.
I bought my first grown-up TV set in 1995, and it arrived, and the delivery guy put it in, and we turned it on.
A massive car bomb exploded outside of a large federal building in downtown Oklahoma City.
First thing that came on was the Oklahoma City bombing.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
I remember this brilliant flash of light. My whole desk and the area around me just lit up, brilliant flash. And then there was this tremendous noise. It was deafening. All of a sudden, it stopped just like that.
We're trying to get people to the hospitals as quickly as we can. At the same time, we now have a crime scene that we're trying to protect. My assistant agent in charge says, "Bob, do you know what today is?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Today is April 19th.
April 19th is the anniversary of the final assault on Waco.
The previous year, the 1-year anniversary of Waco, we had been on high alert throughout the whole country. Nothing happened.
The Alfred E. Murrah Federal Building housed government offices, including the local bureau of the ATF. Like the World Trade Center bombers in 1993, the Oklahoma bomber leaves evidence behind. And Timothy McVeigh is arrested within 2 days.
I can't comprehend what he was thinking in his mind when he did that. It's beyond comprehension.
I was shocked that a fellow American would do this to Americans.
What was more shocking to Michelle was that she had met McVeigh before, at Waco.
Tim McVeigh was sitting on the hood of his car, very unassuming. Camouflage, ball cap, looking all American. He was there to express a fear for the government.
I just arrived today. I guess somebody told me a lot of people would be scared to put something on there.
He was fearful of big government. He was fearful of the government that, in his opinion, wanted to control the everyday lives of Americans.
As the country tries to come to terms with this tragedy, the mourner-in-chief flies to Oklahoma City.
This was not universally thought to be a good idea. Bill Clinton was struggling in the wake of an election campaign where the Democrats lost the House and the Senate, and it was a very tumultuous winter.
On April 18th, just 1 day before the Oklahoma bombing, the president looked vulnerable.
Yes, Judy. Republicans have dominated political debate in this country since they took over Congress in January. And even tonight, 2 of the major television networks declined to broadcast this event live. Do you worry about making sure that your voice is heard in the coming months?
No. The president is relevant here.
He needed to assert himself. He wanted to make sure that he hadn't disappeared off the face of Washington.
The tragedy of April 19th gives Clinton his chance to reach out.
You have lost too much, but you have not lost everything. And you have certainly not lost America.
I found him to be very, very sincere. He was talking to us as one of us.
If anybody thinks that Americans are mostly mean and selfish, they ought to come to Oklahoma.
It would be hard to find any presidential speech in the last half of the 20th century or into the 21st century that was better attuned to the moment.
Clinton's speech temporarily restores faith in his presidency. But the war is far from over. Republicans have a very lethal weapon at their disposal.
An excellent role model for the youth of America or anybody else needing guidance for that matter. I am Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Limbaugh is personally credited with helping Republicans win those 1994 midterm elections.
That was the moment that the Republican Party began to rely on talk show hosts to make its case for them.
And it's partly thanks to Rush why Newt Gingrich is king of the Hill.
There was a brief period when the president was clearly on defense, clearly didn't quite know what he was doing.
How is it that the Democrats keep approaching people as though they're stupid?
Clinton never won the majority of the popular vote. There were a lot of people who were convinced he wasn't really the president.
The Republicans strike while their iron is hot, setting a trap for Clinton.
The core issue is that for 60 years, we have been borrowing our children's money. We now owe $5 trillion.
They propose severe budget cuts.
Everybody believed Clinton was weak. Everybody believed they could push him around.
It's a win-win maneuver. If Clinton opposes Gingrich's budget, he's a defender of big deficits. If he gives in, the Republicans take control. November 14th, 1995, the federal government runs out of money.
The Washington Passport Agency is closed for lack of funding due to the shutdown of the federal government.
The National Park Service
is closed indefinitely.
The shutdown will either make him or break him.
It wasn't really about policy. It was about the tribalism that had taken over American politics, the red versus blue tribalism.
Clinton just said, I'm just not going to sign a bill that cuts Medicare and forces me to do these things. I'm not. Nobody really knew how that was going to end.
He saw correctly the shutdown as a lifeline. It was a judo move. You fall backward, but you take your opponent head over heels with you. So he understood the Republicans will be blamed.
We will remember in November.
After 27 days of shutdown, Bill Clinton triumphs. The Republicans give in. He emerges as a stronger president, but has to change the way he governs.
The era of big government is over, but we can't go back to the era of fending for yourself.
This car would have been crushed a long, long time ago.
Tell you what, this car has already died.
N-o să vă fie deloc ușor.
We're gonna have to bring it back to life.
Tot mai departe. SOS Mașini Clasice. În fiecare luni la 9.
Ani de cercetare de laborator și studii clinice au dovedit că uleiul de krill ajută la scăderea colesterolului, trigliceridelor și a riscului de afecțiuni cardiovasculare, fiind de 40 de ori mai eficient decât Omega Classic. Coril, împotriva colesterolului și trigliceridelor. Acesta este un supliment alimentar. Citiți cu atenție prospectul.
Zahărul e peste tot. Pastele de dinți Aquafresh întăresc și apără activ dinții împotriva zaharurilor din alimentația zilnică. Aquafresh, protecție împotriva zaharurilor. Încearcă azi pasta de dinți Aquafresh Complete Care, protecție împotriva zaharurilor.
Ce faci, drăguțu?
Nu e panică, man! Așa e și când ți-e foame. Găsești repede ceva. Booster și cartofi prăjiți, 5 lei. Ceau, pa, ne vedem la KFC!
La Dona, alatul de farmacist nu se primește, se merită.
Tenis?
Pentru că știm, pentru că ne pasă, pentru că ascultăm.
Cum să vă zic, sunt niște...
La Dona investim constant în pregătirea farmaciștilor noștri. Aldona, o farmacie cum toate ar trebui să fie.
Când e vorba de igiena corporală, nu ai lăsat lucrurile pe jumătate făcute, nu? Dar igiena orală. Periajul nu e suficient. În gură rămân milioane de bacterii. Folosește Listerin. Distruge până la 99,9% din bacteriile rămase în urma periajului. Periajul și Listerin. Cea mai explozivă curățenie a gurii tale. Listerin. Recomandat de Societatea Română de Stomatologie.
Suferi de hemoroizi? Sigur nu vrei să ajungi aici. Acum există Prestogel, tratamentul rapid împotriva hemoroizilor. Scapă chiar acum de durere și hemoroizi, doar cu Prestogel. Acesta este un dispozitiv medical. Citiți cu atenție prospectul.
În fiecare secundă, lângă tine bate o inimă care are nevoie de ajutor. În România, aproape jumătate dintre adulți au colesterolul crescut. Besel conține omega-3 și 6, care te ajută să-ți menții colesterolul în limite normale. Luptă pentru sănătatea tuturor inimilor la care ții.
Scuipi sânge atunci când te speli pe dinți? Încearcă pasta de dinți Parodontax, pentru că dinții tăi sunt susținuți de gingii, așa cum un copac este susținut de pământ. Dacă sănătatea gingiilor este afectată, acestea sângerează, se inflamează și se retrag. Așa cum copacul se prăbușește dacă pământul este instabil, la fel și dinții tăi pot începe să se clatine și chiar să cadă. Pasta de dinți Parodontax cu tehnologia Malcron ajută la oprirea sângerărilor gingivale și menține dinții puternici. Parodontax. Pentru persoanele care scuipă sânge.
Echipa de depanare s-a întors. Acum acționează pe o zonă extinsă, cu mare faimă pentru pericol. Un alt drum de coșmar. Autostrada Iadului. În fiecare joi la 10 pe National Geographic.
1990s, a decade when things seem to be moving faster than they ever have before. Helping to speed things up is a drug called cocaine. And the source of 80% of the world's cocaine is one man.
Pablo Escobar was richer and more powerful than anyone in Colombia. He terrorized that entire country and was well on his way to being the de facto leader of the Colombian state.
The only other people that had the same wealth were world leaders and despots and royalty.
He started to create his own army, people with weapons going around killing people because they just had the power to do it.
In an attempt to kill a presidential candidate, Pablo Escobar allegedly blows up a commercial airliner, killing 107 people on board. The Colombian government decides enough is enough. And with the help of the American intelligence services, they plan to arrest him.
Pablo's big fear was being extradited to the United States.
He knew that in the United States he wouldn't have the power that he had in Colombia. I mean, the power of corruption to bribe people or to scare people to find his way.
Aiming to get extradition overturned, Escobar wages war on the Colombian state with an intensive bombing campaign.
The city was in chaos. There wasn't any law around. It was just the law of weapons and violence and war.
After almost 2 years, the country can take no more. The government agrees to repeal the extradition law, providing Escobar turns himself in.
His jail was luxurious. The jail was built by him. He had there even a discotheque in the basement, big TVs to watch football, gym, pool tables. He was in paradise there, I have to say.
He continued to run his criminal enterprise from his so-called prison. In fact, even bringing some rivals who had betrayed him up to the prison and executing them.
It's too much for the government to take. So they decide to transfer him to a real prison. And that's when he decides to leave.
Colombia's most notorious drug lord, Pablo Escobar, is apparently on the run after staging an uprising at his jail.
Now he's an embarrassment to the government of Colombia, a worldwide embarrassment. Colombia is a laughingstock. And so the country became much more determined to capture Escobar and put him away in a real prison.
The police, with the help of a United States Special Operations Unit, relentlessly pursue Pablo Escobar. Finally, on December 2nd, 1993, he is tracked to a simple house in his home city of Medellin.
Escobar tried to escape by climbing out a second-story window and running across a rooftop. He made a break for it, and he was shot down on that rooftop. Worldwide, the death of Pablo Escobar had virtually no impact. It didn't even make a dent in the flow of cocaine from Colombia to North America and throughout the world. What it did do was end a reign of terror inside Colombia.
Throughout the 1990s, cocaine and other illegal drugs continue to fund criminal networks worldwide. One of the biggest of which is the mafia.
This was a particular problem for New York that had 5 mafia families. Most other cities had only 1. New York had 5.
And of all of the mafia bosses, none is bigger than the head of the Gambino family, John Gotti.
He was a media darling. He's given $50 bills to homeless people.
This will give you some money, people. I have figured some money.
We all love the bad guy. It's the way it is. There's some kind of romance about the mafia.
3 times, the government has tried to convict Gotti.
Not guilty.
3 times, it has failed.
Is John Gotti a mafia boss?
No.
No, absolutely not.
That's right.
Absolutely not?
Absolutely
Without
not.
a doubt, you're saying this honestly? Cross your heart and hope to die?
Absolutely.
But all that changes when the FBI bugs Gambino headquarters.
You come this I'll meet John Gotti and I will sever your mother head off.
Gotti's right-hand man breaks the code of silence, triggering the downfall of the Gotti empire.
My father is the last of the Mohegans.
And the mob in cities across America.
And then the floodgates open. Made guys, captains, underbosses, consiglières, later on, bosses themselves flipped.
Organized crime may be choked, but disorganized crime still has a stranglehold over New York.
In just the first 6 months of this year, 35 of our city's children have been shot and killed.
Against a backdrop of unrelenting violence, New York decides it needs a new sheriff in town. Rudy Giuliani is elected mayor.
The simple fact is, we have to try to fight back. We just can't sit here and let this kind of carnage go on.
Giuliani and his new police chief, Bill Bratton, implement a zero-tolerance crime initiative. And the results are almost immediate.
I put out a cover saying it's the end of crime as we know it, which people said, you're crazy. This is just a one-year blip. Well, as it turns out, it was the beginning of this ongoing 20-year reduction in violent crime.
All of this progress has had a rather sinister side effect. New York is becoming nice.
Meet America's other favorite fantasy New Yorkers.
It certainly was the opposite of gritty.
Seinfeld is in the New York before Giuliani fixed it, and Friends is in the New York after.
We got a tremendous amount of flack over the apartments and how big they were and could these people really afford. And I would always say they're much cheaper because there's no fourth wall.
Friends was based on reality. Well, sort of.
The 6 characters on Friends aren't literally based on us or people we know. I mean, yeah, colors. I mean, I would say there's an element of Ross, a kind of neurotic, and also Chandler. Absolutely.
Hey, that monkey's got a Ross on his ass.
In the mid-90s, friends are hanging out in a sophisticated New York brimming with coffee shops.
Would anybody like more coffee?
Did you make it, or are you just serving it?
I'm just serving it.
Yeah, I'll have a cup of coffee.
Suddenly in the 90s, you're looking around and like, wow, they're getting coffee and they're sitting on sofas.
We saw a place like that, and we were like, huh, that looks nice.
Friends hugging it out introduces a new kind of family onto our TV screens.
The conceit of the show was that your friends were your family, and in a lot of cases that was certainly true in the 90s.
I remember when I first came to this city, I was 14. My mom had just killed herself, and my stepdad was back in prison. And I got here, and I didn't know anybody.
They wanted to show that it was okay, that people had flaws, and you didn't have to show the American family nuclear as perfection.
The circumstances of Matt Perry's childhood are reflected in the series.
I'm not a big holiday guy, like sort of forced fun, forced jolliness.
Oh, I'm a duck. I go quack, quack. I'm happy all the time.
And that actually echoed in the character. He only had grilled cheese sandwiches, and so he had bad memories of Thanksgiving in the past.
Now, Chandler, dear, just because your father and I are getting a divorce doesn't mean we don't love you. It just means he would rather sleep with the houseboy than with me.
In the TV series, Chandler's dad is a transsexual, played by Kathleen Turner.
What an unusual name. You must have had terribly fascinating parents. Oh, they're a hoot.
There is one father figure of an entire dysfunctional nation.
And now, God's gift to radio, the very horny Mr. Howard Stern.
Stern's radio show has 16 million listeners. His libertarian views spawn books, a movie, and mass adoration.
Howard Stern is just a guy who's really a carnival barker with a radio platform.
Some carnival, some platform.
I am the most honest person in the world today. Believe me, anybody who admits to having a 1-inch penis is honest.
Well, I think Howard takes the veils off, people. He takes the veils off of men and their crass, disgusting behavior. And people get a kick out of it. It's fun, it's crazy. It's the way men are.
I got a mind just like him. Dirty, funny, and clever.
Remember that tenuous line between politics and entertainment in the 90s? With Stern, that line is way out of line. And the Stern Show even sends its own correspondents to crash press conferences.
Did Governor Clinton use a condom?
Jesus.
Right here. Was there ever a threesome? Will you be sleeping with any other presidential candidates?
In his own loudmouth way, Stern is a kind of revolutionary, even staging a gay dance party live on the air.
Have you ever danced with a man before? Is that what they call it these days, dancing?
Was that really Jon Stewart?
The World Heritage Special. Sankt Petersburg a fost odată simbol al epocii de aur a Rusiei țariste. Dar istoria modernă i-a adus comorile în ruină.
We've gone through a lot of threats and a lot of losses.
Azi, o echipă de restauratori are misiunea de a proteja valorile trecutului. The World Heritage Special. Sâmbătă la 6 pe National Geographic. Sponsorizat de A Better Life, A Better World. Panasonic. Pentru că îmi dau avânt. Pentru că nu cunoaștem limite cu ei. Venice. Fiecare model 139 lei. Pentru că iubim pantofii. Deichmann.
Bun, azi învățăm o nouă formulă. Știe cineva ce înseamnă vopsea la puterea a doua? Exact. Acoperire mai mult.
Acoperă extra. Și? Se descurcă? Se descurcă?
Au învățat mecanic, îi ajută vopseaua. Îi ajută Casabela.
Buonasera, my friends. Today I'm going to talk to you about a very own snack. Pizzeti. Pizzeti is good for you because it's made from real bread, tomatoes, and real cheese. Some people deny to eat pizzeti, and now they've got serious health problems. For example, Carlo didn't want to eat pizzeti, and now he can walk. Eat pizzeti. Pizzeti. The whole snack.
Scuipi sânge atunci când te speli pe dinți? Încearcă pasta de dinți Parodontax, pentru că dinții tăi sunt susținuți de gingii, așa cum un copac este susținut de pământ. Dacă sănătatea gingiilor este afectată, acestea sângerează, se inflamează și se retrag. Așa cum copacul se prăbușește dacă pământul este instabil, la fel și dinții tăi pot începe să se clatine și chiar să cadă. Pasta de dinți Parodontax cu tehnologia Malcron ajută la oprirea sângerărilor gingivale și menține dinții puternici. Parodontax, pentru persoanele care scuipă sânge.
De Paște, Cel.ro te ajută să oferi bucurii persoanelor dragi ție. De aceea am dat startul promoțiilor de sărbătoare și îți oferim reduceri de până la 40% la electrocasnice, telefoane, parfumuri, cosmetice și multe altele. Profită acum! Cel.ro. Bucură-te de cel mai cel preț!
Mașini clasice și vieți schimbate. Echipa de salvatori revine cu aceeași nobilă misiune. De data asta va fi și mai complicat.
Look at it, it's half a car. And the other half here, the engine is falling to pieces.
De la superbele anilor 60 la minunile tehnicii anilor 80. Tot mai departe. SOS Mașini clasice. În fiecare luni la 9 pe National Geographic Channel.
In the 90s, walls come down that are not located in Berlin. Homosexuality is no longer a completely taboo subject in America. Remember this cover?
I thought, wow, that's really cheeky. And you know, Katie Lang, this is somebody who in an era where it wasn't really that cool to have that kind of courage, he just said, lay it on, baby, this is me.
That Cindy Crawford, Katie Lang moment was the pinnacle of it. It was sheer lesbian insanity.
Another cultural revolutionary gets in on the action.
It's too soon, it's too soon. Come on! Tell her, big baby.
All right, her name is Marla. I'm seeing a woman.
It was a very important step for me to get gay characters on television.
She said, oh, would you play a gay character? I said, yeah, I think that would be fun. It'd be funny and crazy.
I have a gay brother and a gay sister.
And soon, other gay figures are emboldened to come out of the closet.
I felt that if I wanted to be truthful, then I had to be truthful all the way.
Guest stars and rock stars are one thing. America's sitcom sweetheart is something else. In the 90s, Ellen DeGeneres was intensely private about her personal life.
Where are you? I was in the closet.
But on the night of April 30th, 1997, that would change.
I'm so afraid to tell people. I mean, Susan, I'm gay.
It was enormous. Roseanne had earlier done a gay storyline, but that was fiction. We all knew it was fiction.
Ellen's coming out on national television is a watershed moment.
She must have felt a future leaf come off of her.
That felt so great, and it felt so loud.
It helps the girl turn to her parents and go, yeah, well, I'm gay too. It helps the young boy go, yeah, I'm gay too. And it makes it not as bad.
But while being gay has started to become more acceptable in mainstream media, in Wyoming, things are not quite so open.
The sky that goes forever, it's beautiful in its own unique way. But it's kind of challenging to be there politically.
Judy Shepard has a son named Matthew. who is different from the other boys in his class.
I actually began to wonder when Matt was about 8 if he was gay, and one of the clues might have been that for 3 years in a row he dressed up like Dolly Parton.
When Matthew is in college, he comes to a realization.
He called me in the middle of the night and said, "Mom, I'm gay." And I said, "Matt, what took you so long to tell me?" And there's this sort of quiet at the other end of the phone, and he said, "How did you know before I knew?"
The Shepard family embraced their son's sexuality, but others don't.
Two people passing this fence on Wednesday thought they were looking at a scarecrow. When they looked closer, they realized it was the savagely beaten body of a young man who had been tied to the fence and left to die in the cold.
Got a call in the middle of the night, about 5 o'clock in the morning, I guess, and it was the hospital calling us and said, "Your son has been injured."
It's a crime that will transform America.
Two young men have been arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder. Shepard's attackers are accused of torturing him and, according to the affidavit filed in court, attempting to kill their victim by beating him with the butt of a pistol.
He never regained consciousness.
After 6 days, with his family beside him, Matthew succumbs to his injuries.
It was sort of a wake-up call to reality. We in the entertainment business and in media in general had been riding this beautiful wave of gay is okay.
Just putting him on the fence, the way they left the body and the cruelty and the bullying, those sorts of things you don't ever forget.
Matthew's funeral becomes a media circus.
This is the most absurd thing anyone could ever imagine. Having to print tickets and write out names, invitations basically, for a funeral of their child. Who does that?
And it's not only supporters of Matthew Shepard who attend.
The United States government and the United Nations cannot protect you from the Holy God.
We knew they were going to come. The police department had set up a SWAT team around the church. We were out and talking to the press. Dennis was wearing a bulletproof vest. How stupid is that, right? That's crazy.
His family and friends want more than ever to say their farewells to him in a peaceful, dignified, and loving manner.
We knew Matt would become the quote-unquote poster child of the movement. We kind of encouraged it because we thought as long as they're talking about Matt's story and they're talking about Dennis and I, we can be accepting parents who set an example for parents who reject their kids. This is what we want.
Matthew's killers are sentenced to spend the rest of their lives behind bars. But it will take 11 more years for Congress to pass a long-awaited bill.
Add federal protections against crimes based on gender, disability, gender identity, or sexual orientation.
It will become known as the Matthew Shepard Act.
That one story changed more hearts. You can call it the tipping point.
We have made progress. I think Matt would be pleased. All we wanted to do was try and make it better.
In the 90s, the internet was a confusing place to be.
When we need a fact, it's like we get it in seconds. So it's hard to go back and think about in the 1990s when we didn't have those search engines. Like, what did we do?
When Tim Berners-Lee invented the web in 1991, he put in the structure that we have today, websites and names. But it didn't occur to him to have a way of searching them because there weren't that many.
The on-ramp was there.
America Online can do all that.
But the information superhighway has way too many detours and dead ends.
Everyone says that you can just search the web and all of a sudden happen upon stuff, but I can't. I can't find anything on it.
But some see a roadmap to the future. Stanford University students Larry Page and Sergey Brin are T-shirt-wearing, Burning Man-loving cultural renegades. But they also have a magic formula, one that will better organize search.
What Google did was it found a way to use other people. That was called PageRank.
The more popular the page, the higher up on the search list. Simple, right?
It was a different way of determining what order to present those billion results in.
And Google's original storage rack is made from Legos. These guys were playful, but it played to their advantage.
Why did the 40-somethings not do it? Because all of us were hobbled by convention, and they saw a new path.
When I initially interviewed with Google, I remember seeing Larry come out of the elevator on one of those little hopping balls with handles on it. This guy goes right on by me. Okay, that's interesting. So I left the interview thinking to myself, these guys are crazy.
This former chef for the Grateful Dead is not put off.
They told me, cook whatever you want, cook from your heart, cook what you believe we should be eating.
Larry and Sergey figure free food, along with bouncing balls, will keep their employees happy and working hard. That and some worthless stock options.
I had called my dad and I was like, Pop, I need to borrow a little bit of money to buy these stock options. He was very skeptical.
Charlie's dad wasn't the only skeptic. But soon, that would change.
My dad now worships Google as his second god.
A manhunt is underway in Los Angeles at this hour for OJ Simpson.
We're over the 5 freeway. OJ Simpson is believed to be in the white Bronco, followed by as many as 9 Orange County Sheriff's deputies.
It began 4 days earlier.
The body of 34-year-old Nicole Brown Simpson, ex-wife of O.J. Simpson, was found after midnight on the sidewalk outside her West Los Angeles home. Next to it, the body of an unidentified 26-year-old man.
By the 90s, if anyone gave O.J. Simpson any thought, it would be as a sports icon or an affable golfer.
Oh, jeez. Now, that was about as bad as it gets.
Ever need to rent a car fast?
Star of TV commercials. And so bad he was almost good actor. But nobody, and I mean nobody, could conceive that this sports icon could be charged with a vicious double murder. OJ fails to turn himself in. Now he's on the run. Bob Tour was first on the scene.
I got on the radio and I said, we got him. And, you know, the incredulous people on the other, what do you mean you got him? I said, we got OJ.
That is a phenomenal shot you were looking at right there as Bob Tur gets chopper 2 down very low. Look through that back window and perhaps you can catch a glimpse of O.J. Simpson sitting there.
O.J. Simpson is believed to be armed and dangerous.
We are told right now that O.J.'s sitting there in the passenger seat with a gun pointed at his own head.
I counted 18 aircraft flying over the O.J. Simpson pursuit. It looked like something out of Apocalypse Now.
Watching live was LAPD detective Tom Lang.
We saw the chase on television like everyone else, and I was standing at my desk, and the thought struck me, you know, we had his cell phone number. Why not do the simplest thing in the world and give him a phone call? I felt that if I were able to talk to him at this point, he'd talk to me. And so I did get a hold of his number, and I did talk to him.
OJ, you there?
Just let me get to my house.
Okay, we're going to do that.
I swear to you, I'll give you what. I'll give you me. I'll give you my whole body.
Okay.
I just need to get to my house.
Okay. We're going to do that. Just throw the gun out the window.
I can't do that.
I wasn't accusatory. I didn't raise my voice. I was empathetic with him on the phone.
Think of your kids.
No.
Please, just toss it out. You're scaring everybody, man.
If I could occupy him enough on the phone, maybe he's not thinking about shooting himself or anybody else.
Please, you're scaring us. You're scaring them. Please, man.
Hey, you've been a good guy, too, man.
Thanks, Ed.
I know you're doing your job.
Just throw it out the window. And nobody's going to get hurt.
All I did was love Nicole. All I did was love her.
Thousands of people were lining the freeways just to get a glimpse of the motorcade.
I just wanted to be a part of history and see if it was really him driving or what was the hoopla all about. I wanted to see for myself. I wanted to be there.
There were people with these placards raised up. You're innocent.
You could see people down the street running to the 405 to go see it. If we really had the internet the way it is now, that would have never happened. People would have just watched it on their cell phone.
It was a kind of ghastly parade. The kind of hated yourself for watching, but watched anyway.
I know people that didn't go on their Hawaiian trip because they stood at the airport watching the pursuit.
Oh, who didn't watch the OJ car chase?
That day, more pizzas were sold than any other day in the history of the United States. So Domino's Pizza made out like bandits.
I happened to be in the Oval Office and met President Clinton. And I want to talk to him about forensic science. And he said, what about that car chase? He didn't even talk about my books. He was too busy talking about OJ.
I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna go with Nicole. That's all I'm gonna do. That's all I'm trying to do.
Think about everybody else, all right?
I couldn't do it on a freeway. I couldn't do it in a field. I want to do it at a grave. I want to do it at my house.
Finally, after 2 mesmerizing hours, OJ's white Bronco pulls back into his driveway.
All right, Juice. Juice, come on. All right, just toss it, Juice.
Would he have used the gun? Who knows? If you're not going to use it, why put bullets in it?
After a tense standoff with police, he gives himself up.
National Geographic. O aventură de proporții epice în univers.
And it all began with Hubble.
A început ca un dezastru urmat de o salvare in extremis.
Nailed it.
Programul Hubble Călătoria Cosmică celebrează 25 de ani ambițioși. Iar oamenii din spațiu cercetează secretele universului. Spațiu, ultima frontieră. Din 25 aprilie pe National Geographic Channel.
Povestea mea începe sub clar de lună plină. Povestea unui călător menit să afle rodul neștiut al pământului. Zile întunecate mi-au zădărnicit calea și furtuni aprige mi-au năsprit trupul, până când, istovit de povara drumului, am aflat pământul ăsta înstărit cu poame nemai știute. Aici, uitat de lume, am găsit rodul căutat din care am făurit o licoare minunată pe care am numit-o după numele ce mie mi-a fost zămislit. Floare de lună. Legenda continuă.
Ai o zi proastă? Ia-ți o doză de distracție. Hai la luptă, desfășoară-te, joacă așa cum vrei. World of Tanks. Joacă gratuit la tankist.ro.
Același hotel. Aceeași piscină. Dar 2 prețuri diferite. De ce să plătiți mai mult? Verificați cu Trivago. Trivago găsește mereu cel mai avantajos preț pentru mai mult de 700.000 de hoteluri, comparând peste 150 de site-uri diferite. Pur și simplu vă alegeți hotelul ideal și Trivago vă arată unde să rezervați la cel mai bun preț. Hotel Trivago.
Nimic incitant? Privește aici! Umplutură de praline cu arahide, fină și savuroasă, acoperită cu o cremă bogată de cacao și învelită într-un aluat pufos. Incitant? Noul 7 Days Peanut. Incitant.
De fiecare dată când vreau să iau câte ceva de pe internet, mă duc direct pe ocazii.ro. Doar acolo vânzătorii au fost verificați și răzverificați de sute de cumpărători.
Doar pe ocazii.ro, vânzătorii primesc calificative de la clienții lor. Vino să fii vânzător de încredere pe ocazii.ro.
Ce poți spune cu Tuborg? Spune că vrei să împărtășești. Spune-i să zâmbească mai des. Spune-le că vrei pe scenă. Spune-i că o iubești. Spune-le că începe distracția. Say it with Tuborg. Open for more.
Totul începe cu un sunet. Sunetul unui cec gras de 500 de kilograme în cârlig. Dar oricine a dat la ton știe. Se prinde sau s-a dus, cât ai clipi. Depinde cât ești de iute de mână. La pescuit de ton. În fiecare joi la 9 pe National Geographic Channel.
emisiune oferită de FX de la Rompetrol.
Clearly a big victory. Once he'd gotten home, we have the gun, he's in custody, it's all over, all the drama's over.
That might be the biggest understatement of the decade.
OJ Simpson. He is now far and away the most famous murder suspect in modern American history.
The cast of the OJ trial will soon become household names in America. Judge Ito, Johnny Cochran leading the defense, Marcia Clark and Chris Darden for the prosecution.
Yeah, you know, we all became overnight, you know, rock stars.
Half the people thought I was a witness for the defense when I was a witness for the prosecution the entire time. I wasn't really privy to all these law terms that were going on, so especially when I was called a hostile witness. I didn't even know. I thought hostile to me meant that I got out of my chair and I slapped people.
The OJ trial plays out amid a cable TV revolution.
It was called Camp OJ. I remember bringing my daughter there, and someone tried to sell her a watch with OJ's car going around the watch dial in a circle while a police car was chasing it.
The prosecution is convinced it has a bulletproof case.
Bloodstains in his driveway and in his automobile. In his hotel room in Chicago, police found blood on sheets and towels. Reports said Simpson had cuts and scratches on his body.
The kind of evidence that causes defendants to be convicted.
There was more evidence against OJ Simpson than really any murder case I'd ever tried or participated in.
Johnny Cochran's strategy was attack the LAPD.
An easy target. Racial tension in LA is still high. It's been only 3 years since the acquittal of the police officers who beat Rodney King and the LA riots.
Johnny Cochran knew he could turn things around and have people buy into it. The media loved it.
Johnny Cochran manages to discredit all the evidence by claiming it was either planted by racist police or deliberately tampered with.
This case is about a rush to judgment, an obsession to win at any cost and by any means necessary.
He made the prosecution look really dumb.
There were days when I just wanted it to be over.
It is true that Furman is racist.
So many mistakes made, including my own.
America is addicted to all things OJ.
Are you kidding? I was pregnant at the time of OJ, and that was my life.
You've got an African-American man, you've got that whole race issue, you've got this superstar who's now being hauled in and out every day, and you've got cable TV coming of age.
Can you get a fair trial? We're going to try. We're going to try. We got to do the best we can.
It was a recipe for just an American soap opera unlike anything we've ever seen.
The turning point of the trial comes when the prosecution asks OJ to try on the bloody glove found at the crime scene. It was a day that would live in legal infamy.
The glove fit. Play the glove. Beautiful, just beautiful.
It doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Johnny Cochran, right? Professional legal scholar, amateur rapper.
After 8 months of testimony, the jury is called in to give their verdict.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being, as charged in count 1 of the information.
When the verdict was read, I was in the front row of the courtroom. I heard gasps.
OJ was in disbelief. He scored another touchdown.
OJ Simpson got away with double murder. OJ Simpson killed 2 people. No question.
Many thought the OJ acquittal was payback for the Rodney King verdict.
I just feel like standing on top of this table and dancing a jig.
there's a debt to be paid. They owe us. They let those officers in Simi Valley go when it was on videotape and when the guilt was clear.
There was this idea that, like, we've been screwed over so many times by cops and the justice system that this is probably the wrong answer, but we'll take it.
And in true 90s fashion, just about everybody connected with the case cashed in.
Girls would come up to me to sign their breast. I got underwear in the mail at my agency all the time, some small, some big. And it was amazing when girls would say, "Kato, do me."
It seemed impossible that the 90s would ever see a more lurid, long-running, and mesmerizing real-life soap opera. But, as we know now, the 90s always had a way of topping itself.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I was frightened. I was so frightened.
Știm toți